So I initially wasn't going to do this video because it felt like salacious as far as slapping at President Trump. And I'm not trying to do that, but I'm trying to point out something important here. That's why I'm doing this now. So I saw this video where President Trump was standing there talking about, he was at the Fed talking about cost overruns, and the chairman of the Federal Reserve is right here with him. Senator Scott from South Carolina was there with him. And you'll find that, okay, Senator Scott and other Republicans are very deferential to Trump. Jerome Powell is cordial, but in this video, he really wasn't deferential. And there was a reason for that. The Federal Reserve is independent. Now, this goes back to the same kind of independent controversy that we have in Ukraine with the anti-corruption bodies being independent and why they ought to be independent. But we'll watch the video and then I'll draw my explanation of why I'm showing it. Okay, so Powell publicly corrected Trump live on air, and it looked like a scene straight out of The Office. Now, you don't tend to see a lot of Republican governors. Now, you see the other side, the Democrats talking about Republicans and Republicans talking about Democrats, but you wouldn't tend to see, say, Senator Scott, who's a Republican, talking about, correcting Trump live on air. Like that wouldn't happen. There's a reason, because there's a power differential here. Trump can do things to make Scott's life a little bit more miserable, or say bad things about him, or tweet or whatever. Or try to deprive him of some kind of something that maybe he could provide in the future as a particular office, maybe in the executive branch or something along those lines. So you don't see that here, but there's not that same connection here because of the independence with the Federal Reserve. Okay, that's where I was going with this, but I'm going to show you the video, and it's actually kind of funny. Okay, yesterday, Donald Trump and Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell toured the Federal Reserve building and reviewed ongoing renovation work. During the visit, Trump claimed that there was an alleged cost overrun of about $500 million. And anyway, Powell, breaking out of his usual calm technocrat role, immediately corrected Trump on live television, pointing out factual errors in his economic claims, and went as far as calling Trump's numbers disinformation. You don't see that kind of thing regularly in politics, but again, that's what the insulation of being independent does for you. You can actually do that sort of thing. Okay, so Powell broke out and he called it disinformation, or all but disinformation. The moment was so awkward and absurd, it honestly felt like something out of The Office. If you watch The Office, Michael Scott, that's the American version, or the British version. It's just this awkward kind of like, I don't know what to say. Okay. At the end of the report, the reporter asked Trump, oh, by the way, if you see that I have white on my fingers, I was just painting. And I'm sorry, I'm just pointing that out because some of you are going to comment. I don't like to paint, but my wife wanted a different color wall. And while I don't like to paint, I like my wife, so there we are. Okay, back to the story. At the end of the reporter asked Trump, back when you were a developer, if your project manager went over budget, what would you do? I'd fire him. An awkward silence followed. Everyone suddenly looked at Powell. Okay, so here's the actual clip, and we're going to watch the clip. It's only about a minute long, and then there's a couple of lessons here that we need to draw out of it. And it's not just to make fun of Trump or anything along those lines. It's just, it was weird. It was different. It's not something that you see in politics very often. Okay, here we are. Here's the clip.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit.
Look at his head over here. Let's go back. Watch Jerome Powell's head when he says the 3.1
It looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit.
Nope.
Or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah,
I'm not aware of that, Mr. President.
It just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed, he says.
It just came out.
Now, remember, they're live in front of reporters, and so Trump is trying to prove himself that, no, this is correct.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
Now, Senator Scott saying, I heard 3.1 as well, right? Okay. There's a difference here between the relationship, the lines of authority, or the way that one can help another here, as opposed to the independence that is here between Trump and the chairman of the Federal Reserve.
3.2. This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just
That's our
added.
entire capital plan.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no.
So you just added a third building. That's not the same thing as this renovation here. It's something different. And so Trump's being corrected again in front of these reporters.
But it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
It's really awkward. We finished this other buildings 5 years ago, and you're adding us into the total numbers. And
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. So we're taking.
I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's just awkward, especially when he gets to really contradicting, and they're like arguing in front of each other.
Is what that
Just a
is.
little bit
That's
more.
a third building.
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look.
Okay, so, but why did this even happen? And it happened because the way the authority works. Now, there's a reason that in the United States we have 3 different branches of government, and then you have the states separated from the federal and that sort of thing. And even with that, so that like there's this division between them, and even with that, a senator is still differential to President Trump, but this chairman of the Federal Reserve isn't. So what's the Federal Reserve? First, that the Federal Reserve System is our banking system in the United States, and it's not like it doesn't control all the banks, but it's like basically the bank that regulates the interest rate and things along those lines. Now, Trump and Powell have had like Trump's berated Powell a number of times here because he wants the Federal Reserve to lower the interest rate to heat up the economy. Now, if he lowers the interest rate, it will create quicker or more economic growth and that sort of thing, but it'll also incur greater inflation. And Powell's trying not to do that as the chair of the Federal Reserve. And so the Federal Reserve is a weird instrument. It's this quasi-public private kind of thing. It's a private bank that has a public means, and it regulates all the banks. Not regulates all the banks, they're a regulation, but it's like the key bank for the United States to determine what the interest rate is. Okay, so, and Jerome Powell is a chairman, and he's been chairman for some time. He's the 16th chairman of the Federal Reserve, and Biden put him back in place in 2022, and his term's not up for a few years, so he's insulated. And so that insulation allows him to do different things. And this is primarily the issue with what's going on with Zelensky, with the anti-corruption agency's independence bill. They're upset and they're protesting in Ukraine right now because the last bill that they put forward took away that independence and put essentially the anti-corruption bodies under a line of authorities from the president's office to the prosecutor's office to those bodies. And that insulation is just not there. You would act very differently if you were in that potentially in that anti-corruption organization, and doing something toward the bosses, whoever, not just Zelensky, but other higher members of the Ukrainian government. You might act differently if you're not insulated than if you're insulated. So I hope that makes sense. That's why I was showing this video, other than it was just weird and awkward. But tell me what you think about that. Do you understand? Does that help understand what's going on with not just here, but what was going on with Zelensky, with this bill, and they're revising it and trying to make it independent yet again. And so we'll see how that works, and that should play out about July 31st. Tell me what you thought about what you saw here. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.